What is up, everybody? Welcome to Ginger Runner Live. I'm Ethan. I've shaved the beard in honor of Canadian Thanksgiving. My wife, who's Canadian, is making Thanksgiving dinner tonight. So I thought I would dress it up a little bit. And for my guest, an incredible athlete, phenomenal runner. Very excited to have Stephanie Howe on tonight's show. I hope you guys are excited as well. If you have any questions, ask them in the chat room during the live show. Or if you want, tonight, I'm unveiling some new technology, which I haven't used yet on the show. Hopefully it works. Hopefully. So if you want to on Twitter to ask a question of Stephanie, I can actually bring it up on the screen live during the show. All you have to do is use the hashtag GRLive, and we'll be able to get those questions that way, which might be kind of cool. So we'll try that tonight. But sit back, relax, grab your adult beverage. I have mine tonight. It's of the whiskey variety, so I'm really excited about that. Let's get on with Ginger Runner Live. Welcome. Ginger Runner. Yes, so excited for tonight's show. I have not had her on the show before. It's one of those dream guests that you send the email out, you hope that they respond. She did. She's totally in for tonight's show. She is here waiting to be introduced. I'm very excited to introduce you all to Stephanie Howe. Yay, Stephanie Howe! Yay!
Thank you. I'm excited to be on your show.
So how have you been? You've had a really busy summer.
Yeah, I've been good. I've been busy. I've been traveling a lot, but it's been really fun. Although it's nice to be home right now.
I was going to say, you have been overseas, you've been abroad, you've done a ton of traveling this year. How long have you been home this year?
I got home mid-September, and then I had a quick trip to Chicago. So I've been home more or less the last like 3 weeks, and it's perfect timing because it's beautiful fall right now in Bend.
Oh, I bet. And Oregon, you call Oregon home.
Yes.
Has that always been the case? Did you move there? Was there a reason that you chose Bend? Because it seems to be a hotbed of big athletes.
Bend is a pretty cool place. I grew up in Minnesota, so I'm from the Midwest, and I lived in Montana for a while, and then I moved out to Eugene, Oregon for school. Oh. And I just kind of, I already loved the trails and the mountains, and Eugene is a little bit different. So I just fell in love with Bend and decided to move here, and I stayed.
I mean, you're surrounded by tons of incredible athletes in the town of Bend. Do you guys all train together, and do you know each other? It's not a big town, right? I mean,
no, it's like, I mean, it's 80,000, but it doesn't really feel that big because there's like just the town and then mountains. There's not a lot of like suburbs or anything like that. Our community is great here. Like all the runners do a lot of events together, not just running together. So I see most runners on a weekly basis, which is really cool.
That is cool. I think that's really cool to belong to like a smaller community like that, and you all know each other and you all train at least on the same trails and roads and stuff like that.
Definitely. Yeah, it's cool that we can train together, and then also like I can go out for a beer with Max King. And it's just everyone is like, really cool people too.
Yeah, Bend is also known for having some of the best breweries.
Oh my gosh, there's so many. Yeah.
Do you find yourself going out every night trying to find a different hotspot?
I kind of get over that. I don't go out every night, but I have a few favorites, and I definitely patronize them often, maybe once a week. There's just so many of them, and I don't know. It's good, but it's also overwhelming. A lot of the tourists just come here and they're just like, they want to hit the breweries. So I kind of like the off the beaten path ones where it's like locals only.
I was going to say the live audience, if I know them, and I do, they're going to want to know these local hotspots. Feel free not to divulge the ones that you want to keep close to your heart, but that question will come up at some point during tonight's show.
Okay.
So
Fair
have
enough.
a prepared answer. I can't wait to talk to you about this year. Last year, you've had some incredible years running ultra trail. You're incredibly fast, incredibly talented. Western States victories. And I even got a chance to interview you earlier this summer, leading into UTMB, actually the week before UTMB, I think it was, at a very probably stressful time. But let's start with Lake Sonoma, because we just talked about it before the show. It was an incredible performance earlier this year, course record. I don't want to give away the time just in case we use it as a trivia question a little bit later. But what was that race like for you? It was kind of the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
trained specifically for it? Were you using it as a stepping stone into Western this year, coming back to Western? Kind of what was your logic at Lake
Yeah,
Sonoma?
it surprised me on many levels. I mean, it's pretty early in the year for me, just because Bend, the trails are snowy for most of the spring. And so I really like Lake Sonoma because I love the atmosphere. I love Tropical John. I love wine. It's just a fun scene. So it's like, why wouldn't I go? And it was my first 50 miler ever, 3 or 4 years ago. And so I've kind of, and I had just a good race there, but with lots of room for improvement. And so I went back the following year, had a better race, and I felt like I really needed to nail it. Like I hadn't gotten that course yet. So it's just been one of my staples, and I finally feel like I got it.
I mean, I wasn't there to witness it, but based off of people's reactions and everything that happened that day, it seemed like everything was dialed. Everything worked out perfectly. Was there anything that you did differently from previous races that just happened to work perfectly that day for you?
I think I had confidence. I mean, I just trusted, I'm still kind of new to ultra running. So I just knew that I could do the 50-mile distance. So I maybe took some chances. I wasn't afraid to be aggressive for me. I mean, I'm not an aggressive runner. I like to kind of sit back and let things play out, but I definitely took chances, and I surprised the heck out of myself. Like I didn't think, I thought the year before I ran really fast. I had Emily Harrison there, and she just dominated. And I think I was like 12 minutes behind her or something. So she wasn't there this year. So I kind of I got to the start line, and I was like, this is my year. I'm going to do it. So someone like lit a fire under my ass, and I just went for it. It was cool.
Yeah, it's an interesting strategy that I've heard a lot of people talk about on the show, especially with longer distance races, 50, 100Ks and 100 milers, where they're more patient up front. With the 50-mile distance, you mentioned that you're comfortable at the distance. Do you find yourself wanting to be patient up front, or are you able to push the pace from the very beginning?
I think I'm a patient runner in general. So I tend not to push the pace too much because I don't want to fall apart that second half. So I think it's, I'm getting more comfortable with pushing it a little bit, but it's still within reason. It's within my comfort zone. I'm not one of those runners that's going to go out there and just go for it and see what happens. I would rather finish with a smile than like try to, go for the win and fall apart. To me, that's just not a way I like to race.
For that race in particular, when did you know that you had it? Was there a point that you were like, I'm going to win, now I need to push for the record? Or did the record not cross your mind?
The record was not even on my mind until like the last 10 miles. And I remember looking at my watch, and I was like, man, I just need to run like 10-minute miles and I'll have the record. Which if you don't know the course, it's like the last 10 or 11 miles is like rolling uphill. And it's just treacherous because you're tired, and I've just fallen apart there every year. So this year, I just decided I wanted to lead. I don't know. That's not also my style, but I led from start to finish. And about halfway, there's some long grinding uphills. And I tend to do better on when I can get into a rhythm. The rest of the course is just kind of choppy, like short little hills. So on those long hills, I kind of just made a move and then just kept going. And the last 11 miles, I just like slogged through it. I'm like, I am not giving up. My quads were shot, but I fueled really well. So I had energy.
A huge congratulations, because everyone talks about that course not being a mountainous 50 miler, but everyone talks about it being very difficult because despite the fact it's not, hey, I'm climbing for 6 miles and then descending for 6 miles, it's like this roller of a hell course that just gets you, especially later in the race. So huge congratulations to you for rocking down that course record. Did that give you confidence? We talked about it a little bit. Going back into Western, coming off of winning Western in 2014. My years always get mixed up. 2014. Going back to Western, having Lake Sonoma under your belt with a course record. Did that give you the confidence going into that race, or is it? Yeah,
I mean, I felt pretty good about it. I didn't have a lot of training under my belt at that point, so it was kind of like, whoa, like I'm pretty fit. So it gave me a lot of confidence, but it also made me realize that, okay, it's April and I'm already here. So I need to, I've got a long season planned, so I need to make sure to not overdo it. But it definitely was a good kind of benchmark to see that I was on the right track.
When you are training for the 100-mile distance, which you've run before then at this point, do you alter your training volume-wise, speed-wise after Lake Sonoma? Is it more about just maintain leading into Western?
Yeah, I guess it's maybe less speed based, more volume, but I'm not like a crazy mileage person. I don't, I go for time, not for miles. So I definitely pick up my long run, like the duration. But it's not like night and day different. It's probably more focused on volume and less focused on speed. Like you won't see me doing like much for track workouts leading up to Western States. It'll be more like, a long run with the last 10 to 15 minutes hard or something like that. That'll be more how I prepare. Just trying to get time on my feet.
Yeah. How did this year's race compare to the previous years? Did you feel good up to a certain point and then things started to kind of come apart, or did you feel pretty solid the whole day, or how did it go?
Western States was tough for me this year. I did not have the best day. And it kind of after the race, I was like, man, that was so hard. Like that fell apart. It was so rough. But now after my Utmb experience, which I'm sure we'll get to, I was like, oh, Western States, that was a piece of cake. No comparison. So I guess I went into Western States with a little, like I had a target on my back. And so that, was kind of hard for me. I don't necessarily love that. The year before, I just had no pressure. It was like, okay, I'm going to go try to run 100 miles. No one expects me to do that well. I just didn't feel like I had any expectations. And this year, there were a lot of external expectations and pressure, and I just didn't maybe deal with it as well as I could have. That aside, I just didn't have a good day either. It was hot, and I made a few nutrition errors early on, which I'm a little embarrassed to admit because I do nutrition for a part of my career. But it's good to kind of look and see what happened. I kind of fell apart at Western States around like Devil's Thumb, which is not even halfway. So I just, from there, slogged it out. And it was important to me to cross the finish line. And I did that. So I was proud of that for more reasons almost. The year before, it was great. I mean, things just worked. I had some difficulties, but I was more proud of this year because I had so much more adversity and I still just kind of stuck it out. I didn't give up.
Yeah, I want to point that out, that you talk about having a rough day. Third place is incredible at Western States. The field is notoriously stacked, men and women, every year. Third place is amazing. Still sub 20, which is also totally incredible. You talked about nutrition. Was there something that you took in that didn't work out, or was there a lack of calories? The heat of the day, was that a big factor this year compared to the year previous?
Two things. One, I can't do math in my head when I'm racing. So I thought I was getting enough, and I know this, but I didn't. I thought I had gotten it was like 400 more calories than I actually had taken in the first 30 miles, which is kind of significant. So I was a little behind. And then at that first crew aid station at Robinson Flat, I made a pack change. I put on a different pack, and I wasn't really planning on switching, but I decided to, and we forgot to put food in it. So I kind of ran out of there without any salt or without my fuel in my pack, and I didn't realize it till 3-4 miles down the road, and I was like, crap. And I mean, there's aid stations, but I was already a little bit behind. I got more behind, and so I was just drinking water and not really fueling enough. So I got super nauseous, fell apart, and it's just a downward spiral when that happens so early.
I know the question's going to come up. We got some good questions in the chat room. We had one earlier about strength conditioning, which I'm going to get to because I definitely want to talk to Stephanie about that. We had one here from Theodore, which I'll ask now. Stephanie, does running as a sponsored athlete change how you push in a race? I know that you talked about external pressures and stuff like that with Western. Was that a factor at all?
It's not for me. I'm not really motivated, and this is maybe good. I don't know if it's good or bad. I'm not really motivated by prize money or sponsorship. I'm intrinsically motivated. So, if I would say I'm just as competitive now as I was 5 years ago. It's for me, it's about finding my limit and pushing that. And it's not about in the race. It's not about, what someone else wants me to do. It's the before and after the race where I start to feel that. But during a race, it's all about, pushing my limit.
Yeah. And I can imagine during a 100-miler that doesn't have a huge prize package for winning. It's not necessarily about the money.
Right.
I can't imagine. And what, you're putting yourself through nearly 20 hours of pain and suffering. I know that this question is going to come up because it's been asked of a lot of our elite athlete guests on the show. When you get to those low points, you talk about it at Western, and we're going to talk about it at UTMB, I'm sure. How do you get through them? A lot of ultra runners get there. How do you manage to dig yourself out?
Well, one of my best qualities is also one of my worst qualities at times. I'm stubborn. And if I put my mind to something, I'm going to do it. So when I do get in those places, and even my best races, I have, rough patches. I talk myself through it. And I know I'm not going to give up. Like, I don't give myself that option. I mean, if I'm injured or if something happens, like an accident, yes, I'll quit. But if I'm okay, if it's just that I'm tired or I'm suffering, I don't give myself that option. It's, you're going to keep going. It's just a matter of willing yourself through it. So it becomes really a mental thing. And I found the times where it goes better, I'm really good at positive self-talk. So, if I'm getting into a bad patch, I'll just tell myself, okay, you're doing the best you can right now. Good job. And it's funny because I'm in my day-to-day life, I'm really hard on myself. But in a race or in running, I'm so positive. When things are going rough, I just am like, you're doing so good. You're doing your best right now. And that really helps boost your mood. I think smiling too, even though you might feel terrible, when you smile, you can't help but kind of feel a little bit better, even momentarily. So it's really about the internal dialogue and keeping it positive.
That's awesome. I feel like we've had a couple guests talk about smiling, and it's like such a physical connection to the mental game. I started doing it recently in the last 3 months.
Yeah.
And it's weird. I start laughing at myself because I feel like an idiot, but I think that also helps.
Yeah.
You do that. Do you do that often when you're deep in an ultra?
I try to. I try to remember why I'm doing the races. It's for myself, really. It's so, I should be enjoying it. So I like to try to take it back to that and keep it fun. So I do find myself trying to smile. Sometimes it doesn't happen, but I always attempt to. On the light.
I know it's like the background started getting darker, but your face is like perfect. Like the lighting is all, there we go.
It's like that time of year where it's starting to get dark really early.
Is it hot there? Because it's crazy hot down here.
It's not. It's actually really pleasant. It's like 60s is the high and sunny, but it's not hot.
We got to move to Bend.
No.
No one.
Come visit.
Yeah. That's hilarious. There are signs in Portland, Oregon right now on like houses that are for sale that say no Californians. There's actually like signs that say that. Oh man, I was born in Oregon. Does that count? Let's start talking about UTMB now, because I know that the transition from Western to UTMB, it's not a large gap of time. It's a matter of weeks, really. What did you do between these two races? Because they're both big races, and
I feel like we could talk about this all night. So in what I had planned, envisioned, didn't really work out. So my Western States, I mentioned, it was a little bit rough. And so physically, it wasn't that bad to recover from, but mentally, it kind of put me in a little bit of a hole. And I've found this out. I don't know if other people get this, but after 100 milers, it's just, I get in this gray state. And it takes a while to recover from that mentally. I don't get it with the shorter races. So I'm trying to figure that out a little bit. But my plan was to go over to Europe August 1st and get in some big, huge mountain training runs before the race. Turns out my body had other plans. I just wasn't recovered. So July was really just kind of getting myself back to baseline. And then once I got over to Europe, I just didn't feel like myself. So I couldn't really go out and do all these long runs, which was really unfortunate because I wanted to. I had the time. I was there for a purpose. But I also didn't want to just run myself into the ground because I had a race to do. So I did enjoy it thoroughly. Like, I had a great time. I mean, the food is amazing. And even if you can't run really long, I mean, I would just go sit at a coffee shop, or I would take the tram up and just hang out at one of the restaurants up in the mountains and just be there. So it was less training than I thought, but I just kind of like let myself do that. And once I let go of like trying to follow a training plan, because I'm someone who likes routine. I have a training plan, I follow it, and that's what I do. And when I was there, it just wasn't going to happen. So I just woke up and did what I felt like doing that day. So it might've been a hike, it might've been a run, it might've been, yoga in my room.
We got a good question from Kimo Sabe here, and this is a little bit about Western before we get off the Western and into the UTMB side of things. Stephanie, you've had a great first one and a not so great with the food mishap in the second one. How do you see yourself racing Western States next year? And I think that's a good question, so I wanted to make sure we got to it.
Yeah, Western States, it's like, it's my first love. I mean, that race to me, it means so much more to me than a race. And so I see myself racing it many more times and in many different capacities. I think to me, it's just really cool to put my foot on the start line and go on that journey and be there with those people. And just, I get goosebumps thinking about it. So I would like to see myself be competitive at it again, but that's not the most important thing. I want to have a better race. I feel like the first year I did have I had a great race, but there still was some room for improvement. And so personally, I would like to kind of get back there and really feel like I nail it. Like I talked about Lake Sonoma. I didn't actually get Lake Sonoma until the third time. So I think Western States is similar, and it might take a few more years to really like just get after it. So that's important to me. But just being there and like experiencing it and running it that's what I see myself doing.
Great question, Kimo Sabe. Okay, so back to UTMB. You're in France. You're enjoying kind of the local flavor, whether it's hiking, running, kind of doing your own thing. Was there any highlights that you can remember before the race? Did you fall in love with the countryside, or I guess the mountainside?
Yeah.
Did you feel at home in Chamonix?
I did. I was there for 6 weeks. So I really
awesome.
I acclimatized well. I mean, the Alps to me they're alluring. It was tough being there and like trying to run because we don't have anything like that. So I felt like, they were just destroying me. Like I just, I needed more time there, but it was just so beautiful. Every run I did, I was like, wow, I'm so lucky to be here. I mean, my favorite probably highlight was running over in Italy. And there's a section of the course that you do from Courmayeur kind of into Switzerland or up Col Ferret, it's called. It's only like a 15-ish mile, maybe 12-mile run. But in the race, you cover that mostly in the dark. I was actually in the light this year because I was a little bit behind, but you don't really get to see it. And it's the most beautiful stretch of course. So I did that a couple times, and just being over in Italy was really great. The food there is amazing, and the views of the mountain from the other side. There was just, I couldn't believe it.
Were you at all nervous or stressed going into the race, or was it another kind of sense of whatever happens and I'm just happy to be here? And kind of how did the atmosphere of the race take over?
Yeah, I was less nervous about it than Western States. I did feel a little bit of pressure just because it is such a, there's so many people there, and they do a lot of stuff before the race. So there's like this media event and this and this. And so there was a little bit more of that. But I did feel pretty relaxed. I mean, there's a lot of people from Bend there racing. And then also one of my best friends came over to crew for me. So she was there. And then my husband, Zach, was racing. So all of that familiarity really helped.
That's awesome. I have the very first Twitter question, so I get to try this new technology. Let's see if it works. Let me bring it up. There it is. Look at that. Higgins Larson asks, how do you train during the winter months in Bend? It's a little off topic. We'll get back to UTMB, but I had to make sure that we asked that question.
Yeah. The winter, I like to winterize. So that means not really running. I try to do as little running as possible, which isn't always the case. I mean, sometimes, you know, it's just like a beautiful day and it makes sense to go for a run. But I try to do a lot of just kind of cross training. And my favorite things are to be out in the mountains skiing. So whether that be backcountry skiing, cross country skiing, which is kind of my background, or just even alpine skiing. Those are some things I really enjoy and I look forward to. And then I also use the winter to build my strength back up. So I am doing strength workouts all year, but maybe I'll do like 2 or 3 days in the gym during the winter.
It worked. That Twitter thing seemed to work. That's excellent.
Yeah, it worked well.
I can actually show the tweets up on screen. That's really, really fun. So if you guys have a question for Stephanie in real time, if you use the hashtag #GRLive, those will pop into my feed and I can actually pop them up on screen and give you guys a little Twitter airtime, which is great. Okay, cool. So let's talk about UTMB. How did this race unfold for you? Kind of walk us through the experience. We've had other guests on the show who ran UTMB this year, and like from Sage Candidate talking about what happened with him. And it seems like the stories are pretty incredible. So yeah, let's walk through Stephanie Howe's race.
Okay, my race. It was epic on so many levels. It took me 30 freaking hours to get around that mountain. I was planning on 24. So it was way past. I mean, I had no idea. Like, I had to wear my headlamp twice. I went through the night twice. So it was just, you know, it was not what I was expecting. But in the same way, it was awesome. What I went through, looking back, it was like, wow, I can't believe I did that. So it kind of started really well. We started at 6 p.m., which is tough for me because I'm not a good runner through the middle of the night. My body shuts down, and I know this, and I'm actually trying to work on it because it becomes a problem when your race starts later in the day, because then you hit the middle of the night pretty early in your race, and it's not a good time to be falling apart. So like at Western States, when I, you know, go, and I haven't run that late at States, but if I'm at like midnight or like 1 a.m., it's near the end of the race, so it's okay. But this race started at 6 p.m., you know, it got dark, and then we were in the middle of the night early on. And kind of what happens to me is my stomach falls apart a little bit, so I just can't fuel, and then it's that cycle of you're not getting enough fuel, and then your energy is low, and then you fuel less. But that happened like, you know, probably 2, 3 a.m. Before that, it was great because I was running with Zach. We had not planned on that. We were just going to run our own races, but we kind of just found ourselves running the same speed. So we ran together for like 70K, which was so cool. It was just like really nice to have him there. And like, we didn't talk a whole lot, but we were just like running together. Like, it was dark and it was not too cold out. So that was really cool. And then I think
you guys train together a lot?
A little bit. We used to do it more, but I mean, a lot of our long runs, our whole family goes. It's Zach, I, and our dog. Yeah. And we've raced together before. We've done Trans Rockies. We did the Grand Traverse. So he knows how I suffer. So we work together well in a race situation, which is
got it.
Yeah, I think my race kind of fell apart at Courmayeur, which is about 40 some miles in, not quite halfway. I just had stomach distress, and I was feeling tired and just not feeling like myself. So I sat down for the first time ever at the aid station there, and I just got like a plate of pasta and was eating it, and I kind of came back to life. But then I took off running again, and I just couldn't fuel. So what I ended up doing is putting Coke in my pack, which I don't know if anyone's ever done that before. I hadn't really heard of people doing that, so I just didn't know this, but Coke is fizzy. And so when you're running and it's in your pack, it starts to fizz up. So I just felt on my back this thing just going, like just getting super big. And I'm like, what is going on? I had to like stop and open up my pack and just like let all the fizz out. It was just, yeah, I didn't know that was going to happen. So
you put it in your bladder?
I put it in my bladder. And this is totally disgusting, but I drank at least 7 liters of Coke. That's all I could do. I just couldn't eat. So that was the only thing going down.
Honestly, that's amazing because I think a lot of us, especially mid-packers, tend to just utilize Coke because it's like sugar and calories, right?
It is. Yeah. So that was kind of what saved me. So I got, and I was like going, it was not going that well, but I was still going. I think I was in like 5th place or something. It was okay. And then, I just got super emotional. I fell apart. I just started bawling, like just my world just came crumbling down. And I ran into one of my teammates, Fernanda, she was also racing and having a bad race. And we literally walked a stretch of trail. It was 17K. We just walked it together and we were both just like whimpering. And we got into, I think, what's aid station? Champé-Lac, which is maybe 130K. So it's 170K total.
Okay.
Race. So I still had 50K left to go. I walked in there. Fernanda and I were holding hands. We walked in just bawling. I'm sure it was really entertaining to see, but we were just done. And so my crew, my friend Elisa was there crewing for me, and she came over, and I had told her before the race just not to let me quit. And so I came in, I was like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I'm just like bawling. She's like, just sit down, take your time. Like, you can stay here all night, but you're going to keep going. Like, you have time to take a break. So I spent 2 hours in the aid station, which was like very needed, but it was so different because I've never done that. I've never spent more than like a couple minutes. So I laid down and like came back to life. And then from there, it was all about just getting around that damn mountain. So I ended up just kind of running it, mostly walking. And I had so much support from people on the course. And that's really what got me around. A lot of people from the Bay Area were there.
Oh, so that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. It meant so much to me that they were out there cheering. They would see me just come in with like tears in my eyes, and they're like, Stephanie, you're doing so well. And it was for me, crossing the finish line was amazing. 2 reasons actually. One was just like everything I went through. I didn't think I was going to do it. And then 2, and this was really funny. So I'm just trying to run it in, right? I'm like, there's no competitive bone left in my body. I'm like, just get me to the frickin' finish line. And I had 2K left to go. And at around 2K, you enter the town of Chamonix and you run through the streets and then you make your way to the finish line. And, I kind of wanted to savor that because I got on this long journey and I finally made it. And we're just about to hit the pavement. And I hear this runner coming up behind me, and men have been passing me left and right. So it's like, I don't even care. And I look over and it's a female. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, this cannot be happening right now. After 30 hours of running, like, someone is not going to pass me in the last 2K. So like something switched and I just like took off. And I ended up like beating her at the end. But I looked at my Garmin after, and this is hilarious. So you're running downhill, like down a steep hill, and my miles were like 15-minute miles. And then all of a sudden they cranked down and I ran the last mile 5:42. Like, hilarious to me because I could hardly do that like just, when I'm rested. So it's like I had some competitive drive going at the end. So that was cool, I guess, to finish strong.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Probably totally fueled by Coke. All the caffeine kicked in at once. And Clip Bar, right? Exactly. All the calories.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So, how do you feel now? You're weeks removed, probably 5 or 6 weeks, I think now. How are things now feeling?
Okay, it took me a while to process that one. I just like mentally, I was like, whoa. I don't know. It was really hard to come back from. And right now I'm kind of taking some downtime. I had a couple just kind of niggles that have been bothering me kind of throughout the summer. So I decided to just take care of it now. So I'm feeling pretty good, but I'm not running right now. I'm riding my bike a lot.
And you were talking about cross training a little bit before the show. Is that, the question has come up multiple times in the chat room. You cross train throughout the year. Is there some sort of regimen that you try to follow once a week, 5 times a week, getting in weight training and stuff like that? And kind of what are you doing now? cross training?
Yeah. Normally when I'm in like a training block for a race, I'll do strength training once a week. Usually I go Tuesday mornings to the gym. It's just something that I've done. I'm just in a routine of it now. I try to do that even when I'm running a lot. I think it's super important. So always once a week at the gym. And then I try to take Mondays off, so have it be a rest day. And then cross training, I kind of got away from it a little bit this year. I started running more, and I probably was running 6 days a week, which now looking back, I think I need to shift that back a little bit and probably only run 5 days a week, and then do something non-load bearing. So it can be riding my mountain bike, riding a cross bike, swimming, probably not. I actually hate swimming. Doing yoga, or in the winter skiing or something like that. Just something to mix it up both mentally and physically, I think is super important for longevity and just for the wear and tear on your body.
There was a great comment earlier about you had to take a number of hours at an aid station at UTMB. Did UTMB provide any movies or Netflix that you were able to watch during the course?
Oh man, I wish that would have been so much better. The place where I spent that much time, people were like cheering when people left, when they like actually kept going, because so many people dropped out there. So there was actually a lot to see. There was a lot going on. There's like a photo I have in my blog of me just laying there, just like looking like death. And there was a lot of people that looked like that. So they probably could have made a movie out of it.
Some year they probably will. I'm sure they will. I have to say, 8th place at UTMB, despite all the hardships, is incredible. It's incredible. It's really awesome, though, to also hear just kind of your honest what happened, and you're not trying to sugarcoat it. You had a rough day, and you continued to push on and deal with the struggles. It's really awesome and refreshing to hear elite athletes talk about that. Do you plan on going back to UTMB and getting any sort of revenge on the course? Or
I would like to do it a little better. I mean, it kind of, now I know what to expect, which is good. I mean, it's way different than any race here. But I just want to go back there and have like a good day and see what I can do. And it was really, really important to me to finish. And kind of what you were saying, like, I think not a lot, but sometimes elite athletes, if they're not doing well, they just stop. And that's something I don't want to do. I just, I'm out there and I'm suffering. And if it's not going well, I'm just going to keep going. So that was super important for me to do that.
I love it and respect it, because there's that impression that elites are worried, not necessarily worried about their ultra sign-up score, but they're worried about the impression of, I'm going to finish 10th. How dare I not place second or third?
It'll mess up your ITRA score.
Yes. So it's incredible, Stephanie. I think hearing that from you is not only going to help other people, but help a lot of us mid-packers and back of the packers know, like, listen, why don't we just keep pushing through and deal with some of the suffering and not really worry about the day. That's really helpful.
It hurts at the time, but a DNF hurts more.
Yep. Great questions coming in from Twitter, so I got to use this fun new Twitter thing. This one is from J2 Gray. What was your nutrition during UTMB? We talked about Coke, so was there other stuff that you utilized?
I used a lot of the Cliff products early on, especially. I was doing bars and then the savory pouches, which were, I was running a little bit slower, so I was able to digest that. And then later in the race, I was eating pasta. And this sounds really, really weird, but the aid stations, they don't have like traditional American aid station food. They have like salami and cheese and bread. Later in the race, like we're talking like my second night out, I was eating blocks of cheese. I don't know, it settled my stomach. Like I would just take some cheese and just like munch on it as I was walking out of the aid stations. It was so bizarre to me, but it worked.
I heard that also from, we have a tweet already showing up, but we also heard that from Sage, who talked about like all the cheese and all the different sort of food that they had at the gas station. It's really interesting. This tweet is from the Anthony Lee, a frequent viewer and Patreon supporter of the show. And he just completed the Bigfoot 120 this weekend, which he also talked about the experience being really, really rough, similar to yours. So big shout out to you, Anthony. Thank you for tuning in live. And we have another tweet here from Schaffner. the angle of her camera makes her look like she has
I know,
antlers.
I was noticing that. I was like trying to kind of move around a little bit. That was my husband, his first elk that he shot with, he goes bow hunting. So he got to keep that one. So I'll just like try to shift a little bit.
No, it's great. People were like, "Oh, those antlers are perfectly placed. It's excellent." And this one is from Peter Rank. I was trying to pronounce it French. It's not. It's Peter Rank. Stephanie, are you planning on running more races in Europe in 2016? Maybe something other than UTMB as well.
Yeah, I'm still kind of planning my race schedule, but I'm inspired by Europe right now. I just love the culture. I love the people, the mountains. I'm definitely wanting to get back there. So I'm not sure what my race schedule is going to be, but yes, I will definitely be back. I mean, I'll be at UTMB at some point again. If it's not next year, it'll be maybe the year after. And there's like a list of other races that I want to do. I'm excited about.
The next question was going to be, what is next for you? Because I know that you mentioned that you are possibly going to Chile, or not possibly, you are.
I am. I'm going tomorrow morning. It's hours away. I'm not racing there. I'm actually going with a friend who's running her first 100-miler. So it's really cool for me because I've had so much support over this whole year from people helping me race. So I get to go and help someone else race, and that's going to be really fun. And she's a good friend, so I look forward to spending the week with her and just kind of being there and not running. I don't have any races on my calendar right now. I've had a big year, and so I'm trying to respect what I put my body through and just kind of take it easy for the rest of the year. We'll see if something sounds fun, something a little bit shorter, I might jump in. But other than that, I'm just kind of letting myself prepare to winterize. And then I think next year, I mean, Western States I'm just so drawn to it. I haven't fully decided I'm going back, but I feel it would be hard not to be there. So that's probably on my list.
It's I think a bucket list race that a lot of people just want to participate in and haven't been there and witness it. It's incredible. I actually have a memory of you. I wrote an article for Strava.com. Those of you who are watching live, I interviewed Stephanie leading into UTMB. It is on the Strava blog. Go check it out. It kind of covers her pre-race, and now we kind of heard her post-race. So it's interesting. I hear dogs. Do you have dogs?
You can let them in. Yeah, you can let them in. Yeah.
We love dogs on the show.
Riley, come here. Hi. He's all excited. He hasn't been much running lately, so.
Trail running dog, right?
Yes.
This is the one that runs, but if you guys haven't seen it, go check out the blog that Stephanie and I wrote. It kind of documents her leading up to UTMB. I totally forgot what I was going to say. That's the first.
You're talking about Western States.
Yes, Western States. The first time that I saw you running in person was at 2014 Western States. I remember you coming blazing through aid stations really early on. You were so fast. And a lot of us were like, oh man, she's going so fast so early. She's going to blow up. But every aid station, you would just come ripping through, looking super strong, smiling and talking and like waving and stuff like that. And it was an incredible thing to witness. It really was. So you have to go back. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yes. It's for any runner, I think it's like, it's just like the World Series of running.
Yes.
Super Bowl.
I like that.
Whatever sport.
Okay, we got another tweet here. Let's bring it up. This one is not from Peter Rank. This one is from Genevieve Lyons. I'm going to do French all night because you were in France and we were talking about croissants. What are some of the most common mistakes new ultrarunners seem to make when moving past the marathon distance for the first time? So Stephanie, do you have any input as far as like maybe some rookie mistakes that can be remedied?
Yeah, I think there's two main things, and I work with a lot of kind of beginner trail ultra runners, and so this is something that I see a lot. I think people get over ambitious with the distance and don't respect what it does to your body. So when you start moving up in distance, you can't do like 5 races a year. You can't do your first 50K and then your first 50 mile and your first 100 all in the same year. You can, but you'll probably end up injured or burnt out. It's just not the most sustainable way. You need to give your body time to adapt to that. If you're going from the marathon up to a 50K, even though it's not that much further distance-wise, it's a lot more. You're going to be longer time on your feet. The training is going to just take more out of your body. So I think you need to be patient and just kind of, with all of like social media, you just hear about all these races. And so it's really hard to hold yourself back, but I think it's important. And then the second thing is nutrition. And a lot of people get into a 50K and they try to do like what they would do for a road marathon in a 50K, and it's just not enough. You can get through a marathon with poor nutrition, but the longer the race, the less forgiving. So really dialing in your nutrition and kind of knowing what to do, I think is important. And before race day, don't get to the start line and say, okay, I'm gonna try some gels today. Definitely get that dialed in as you're training.
Two incredible pieces of advice. Those are both the biggest mistakes I think I made. So listen to Stephanie. She knows exactly what she's talking about. The last thing you want to do is burn yourself out or to try something new on race day that you're not familiar with, because it will ruin your day.
Yes.
Okay, so we're kind of rounding out the end of our main show here with Stephanie. If you have any questions that you still want to ask of her, we'll do a real quick post show with her. So you can either tweet them and use the hashtag #GRLive, because that seems to be pretty cool and working out. Or ask them in the chat room, and I will try to get to them, because sometimes they fly by pretty quickly, because we all start talking about tangents and stuff like that in the chat room. But before we do that, Stephanie, where can people find you on social media, Twitter, Facebook, websites? I know people are going to want to read your race recap from the summer. Where can people find you?
Yeah, so my website is Stephanie Marie Howe, blogspot.com. And Facebook is just my name, Stephanie Howe. Twitter, Stefana Marie. And Instagram is Stephanie Marie.
The Instagram is great. She's got great photos from Bend and from around the world. Really good.
So happy.
Yeah, it's go follow her on Instagram. And follow her across social networks. Now, Stephanie, before we get to the end of the show and we go into the post show, which is very brief, I have a segment that I do with all of my new guests that I haven't had on the show before. It's called the Quickie Question Quiz. I just ask rapid fire questions. First answer that comes to mind is the correct answer. They're very easy. Every guest has done it. You let me know when you are ready, and I will rip through them.
I'm ready.
Okay. What was your very first race?
The mile in elementary school.
What is your favorite running movie?
Chariots of Fire.
Good choice. Little sidebar, Vangelis, the composer for Chariots of Fire, also did the music for the finish line of UTMB, I believe.
Oh, yes. Super emotional song.
Emotional song, and I guess it repeated.
Yes, it's one of those epic, like Braveheart style songs.
Trails or road?
Trails.
Favorite place to run?
Bend, Oregon, in the mountains.
What is a bucket list race?
Any race in the Alps in Europe. UTMB, I've already done it, but it's still up there. I need to do it again.
Guilty pleasure television show?
I don't really watch television that much. I kind of was into House of Cards for a while. I'm waiting for the new season to come out.
Yeah, and that's actually a very common answer from trail runners is TV. Like, what?
Yeah.
TV? But Netflix seems to be everyone's.
Netflix,
Yeah. Favorite pre-race meal?
Ocean roll, which is like a croissant.
Oh, nice.
It's a delicacy from Bend, Oregon.
It's called an ocean roll?
Yeah, it's like a croissant with cardamom. It's delicious.
I want it.
Yeah, I know.
Favorite post-race indulgence?
Probably like chips and salsa or chips and guacamole. Anything salty, not sweet. A big burrito.
Nice. And your current running kicks?
North Face Cardiacs.
And your favorite ginger host of a live show that you are doing currently?
My favorite what?
Your favorite ginger host of a live show that you are doing.
Obviously. The Ginger Runner.
That's correct. All the answers were correct. So once again, everyone who is watching live, thank you very much for tuning in tonight. Please go follow Stephanie. She's an incredible athlete. It's been an awesome year to follow her. There's much more to come. I can't wait to continue to follow her into the coming years. Incredible athlete. So go show her some love on social media and thank her for being on the show. Stephanie, one more time, remind people where they can find you.
Facebook, Stephanie Howe. My website is stephaniemariehowe.blogspot.com. Instagram, Stephanie Marie, and Twitter, Stefana Marie with an F to be different.
Go follow her. And don't forget to follow the Ginger Runner across social media as well. And if you haven't already, consider joining Patreon, patreon.com/thegingerrunner. It helps keep the lights on and keep the wall fresh and gleaming behind us. So go consider that. We've got some regular Patreon members in the chat room tonight, which is awesome. I really appreciate that. And we had the new technology unveiled tonight with the Twitter, which I think is really cool.
That's
so
really
in the future,
I liked it.
It's a cool way to feed in Twitter questions.
Yeah.
So if I think I'll be doing that in upcoming shows and stuff like that. Stick around if you are watching live, because we are going to do a post show with Stephanie. So if you have questions that have not yet been answered, we will ask them in the post show. So stick around. Thanks again for tuning in. Next week, Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we have Jeff Browning. Very excited about that. Jeff has run so many ultras and recently finished an incredible UTMF. In Japan, and I can't wait to hear the whole story from that day. So stick around for the post show and come back next week, Monday, 6 p.m. Pacific. That's it for tonight's show. Thanks, guys. We'll see you in the post. Awesome. Thank you so much, Stephanie. We are still live, and we have the live audience now asking pretty much any question that they wanted to ask. There was a lot of strength and conditioning stuff. Do you favor like full body conditioning, abs, or core work? Is there anything that you go to the gym and that's the one thing you have to do every time you go to the gym?
Yeah, I do kind of a circuit training type. It's actually a class that I go to, but it's just kind of like, just doing circuits and a lot of just free weights. I try to do more heavy weights rather than just core and body weight exercises. It's a lot of the research has shown that for runners, you can get better running economy by lifting heavy weights. So, and I do full body, like upper body and lower body.
We have I want to make sure I bring this tweet up. It's from Peter Rank. Again, it's just Peter Rank. I'm sorry, Peter. He mentions, Stephanie, Minnesota is the best state in the union. Am I right?
It's my roots, so I have to say yes.
Yeah, Minnesota I have yet to go to, but I've heard it is beautiful. I know it gets cold in the winter, but I've heard that the forests and the lush trails and stuff like that are gorgeous.
Yeah, I mean, and Minneapolis is a pretty cool city. I think there's a lot of green space near the city.
They're talking about a nutrition question. I'm going to scroll up here and just make sure. Oh, there we go. We have one from Kimosabe. You suggest runners dialing in the nutrition. How so? Is it a trial and error thing? Is it metabolic testing, 200 to 300 calories per hour? How would you, because I know you have clients, or at least educate, how would you help people out in that sort of questioning?
So when I work with someone on nutrition, we kind of go over what the guidelines are for optimal nutrition for an endurance athlete. And there is a lot of clear research on what the best practices are. So there's an amount. And then within that framework, you kind of have to find out like what works for you the best, because there's different types of fuel and it's a little bit individual on what you prefer, but there is really good guidelines on exactly how much you need. And so the trial and error part kind of comes in during your training. So like, okay, I need to get this amount, but let me try some different combinations to see what works best for me. And not just in one condition, but say in hot weather or in cold weather, or when you're going hard, or when you're going like uphill versus running on flat. It's going to be just a little bit different. So those are all important to consider when you're preparing.
We have another Twitter question here from Burnmeister87. Stephanie, do you think ultra running belongs in the Olympics? We had Magdalena Bollet last week on our show, and we were talking to her about the event becoming an Olympic event. I'm in favor of it. I think it would be incredible. Do you think it's something that would happen?
I can see the 100K distance, the road 100K being part of the Olympics. I think it would be really difficult to have a trail race. And I don't really want to see the trails being in that kind of capacity, just because I think it'll change it. I think the reasons a lot of people do it are because they're not, as mainstream. So you get out there and you get away. And, you know, there are a lot of people that know about it and follow it, but it's just a lot of like unknown a little bit. And I think it changes it when it's like a really popular kind of mainstream sport. I think it would be cool to have the 100K though. I mean, it makes sense. If you're already doing like a marathon on the roads, you could easily do 100K on a course like that. And that would kind of, you know, at least include ultra running in some capacity.
I didn't even think about that, the aspect of, because I remember mountain biking being new to the Olympics in the last, oh man, I don't remember, 12 years, I guess, maybe 8 years. I remember seeing it at the London Olympics where they have a predetermined course that they build for mountain bikers. It would be really, I almost agree with you in the sense that it would be kind of a shame of publicity. Would it
Right.
ruin the
It's just not as authentic. You know, you're not in a real place.
It's interesting. Yeah, I didn't even consider that. I was like, oh yeah, people running UTMB, but then all of a sudden now it's an Olympic event. That would be really amazing.
Yeah, it would be different.
We have got good questions here from Matt Schubert about recovery nutrition. Stephanie, what about recovery nutrition, like in the hours and days right after a hard race? Any good rules of thumb?
Yeah, so there's a really good window of time right after a run or a race that if you get something in during that time, it'll really help kickstart your recovery. And that window of time is 30 minutes. So it's challenging because right after a race, you don't really want to eat. So finding something that you're able to tolerate. For a lot of people, it's like a liquid recovery drink, not always beer. Beer comes after the recovery drink. So something like a chocolate milk or just like, you know, a sports company like Cliff Bar makes a recovery powder that you can just put in water and it tastes pretty good. It's chocolatey. But just getting something in during that first 30 minutes is super important. And then the days following, you know, if you're talking like 100-miler, you are just in a big deficit. And so just making sure that, you know, you can eat a lot of maybe things that we don't think are as healthy, but you need to get some good nutritious things in there too to just help your body recover because you just put it through a lot. So getting some good like nutrient dense foods, like a lot of fruits and vegetables, whole grains, and then having your beer and ice cream after that.
Yeah, I did my first 100 the same day you did UTMB, and I think I was at 22,000 calories plus burned. And I remember just eating a lot of nachos. I think in the days after the race, it was all nachos.
And to me, and I don't know if you got this, but I just like my taste buds are just kind of like weird after. No vegetables, no sweet food. I just want salty. Like, I mean, cheese is a good one. Like nachos actually sound like really good choice. But
I was surprised. I'm a sweets guy, so I'm in that opposite camp where it's like, oh yeah, give me that croissant or give me that other thing. And I remember going with my wife to a bakery down the street, which is like one of my favorite in Seattle. And I went and I was just like, I want that and I want that and I want that, like $40 of pastries. And I get back to the house and I couldn't even finish one. I just couldn't.
This doesn't taste right.
Didn't taste right. It was really bummed out. So that's going to be it for the post show, guys. I really, really appreciate you all sticking around. And Stephanie, thank you for sticking around as well. You're an awesome guest. I would love to have you back on the show at some point. I can't wait again to see what happens for the rest of 2015 and even to 2016. Are you going to be at the North Face 50 miler in San Fran?
Yes, I'll most likely be there. I don't know if I'll be racing, but I'll probably be there with the team.
Okay, well, we'll see you there because we'll be traveling up to go there. So that's it for the live show, everybody. Thanks again for tuning in live. Tune in next Monday, 6 p.m. Pacific, same time every single week. And make sure you subscribe to the channel and like this video. New stuff going up every single week, every Monday and Friday. You won't want to miss it because the Cascade Crest 100 film is coming up and a whole bunch of really cool films are coming up. And again, consider joining Patreon, patreon.com/thegingerrunner. And Stephanie, one last time, remind people where they can find you, support you, and follow.
Facebook, Stephanie Howe, StephanieMarieHowe.blogspot. Instagram, Stephanie Marie, and Twitter @Stefana Marie.
Do it. Thanks, guys. And people love you, Stephanie. People are chatting that you were a fantastic guest. So thank you all.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, anytime. That's it for tonight's show, guys. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.